right, welcome everybody. Hampshire Capital Podcast / webcast. Shane Carter here with us, as always, our VP of Operations, Eddie Austin. How's it going, Eddie?
Man, it's going great. It's another beautiful day, and I want to talk today about something that's very important for a company and for a property, and that is asset management. And we're going to just try to do like a high-level intro to asset management. Just to try and get our listeners kind of involved in maybe a deeper series that we're going to do. But let's just talk about the high points of asset management and the reasons you would want one, and one of the things that you would want to, probably almost first person you would want to hire after getting your ownership group in place is an asset manager. And an asset manager is really the person that really funnels everything in of all the information and really has the company protected for as far as things going on in the property. So let's back up a minute. We have two things when we manage properties. We have a property management company. A property management company is the person on the daily that is there on site with a team of people. You'll have porters taking care of your trash. You'll have your maintenance team taking care of invoice items. You'll have your leasing team in there in the office. And you'll probably have a leasing manager that is on staff. That's your property management company. Then you have an asset manager. That asset manager is part of the ownership group. They're part of the people that own the asset. And they have the outlook of the entire company and protecting the asset from things that happen. Sometimes we've seen where property management companies can get a little laxed. They might have a vendor that they work with, and that vendor is slowly creeping up on, say they have a construction construction management arm inside that property management company, and they work with a certain vendor. So, our method is we get 3 bids before making a decision from 3 different vendors. Say we're going to have some concrete poured. They might have a preferred vendor, and that person, they manage a bunch of properties. They're slowly creeping up on numbers and that professional, that contractor, and they're not paying attention to it. So costs can really get out of control pretty quick, but they have a relationship with that person. So as an asset manager, you want to review those bids. You don't want to just haphazardly believe that things are going well. I would really look at things full circle, because you want to make sure that at the end of the day, we have a property operating at the best operational income, or the best gross income based off of the business plan. Also, we want to make sure that our expenses are in line, and then whatever kind of repairs, we're actually looking at all those things. And we can really dig deep into expenses, gross income, forecasting gross income, move-ins and move-outs. That's something else that as an asset manager, you're going to probably want to ask the property management team to kind of give you that forecast.
Yeah.
Because let's say we bought a Class A asset. I might go a little on a tangent here and reel me back in if you need, but if you bought a Class A asset and say you pre-lease this thing in the first 6 months, so that means within a 6-month time period, a 300-unit building, those leases will expire in a 6-month time period. So when it comes to renewals, if you did 100 leases in January, that means you have 100 units turning over in January. That's a forecast you probably want to really look out for, because that's 100 new tenants. And if you're only leasing 5 or 6 units, so say for instance, we got a property, it's got 30 vacant units. We just renovated them. We got everything going nice, but we're only leasing about 5 units a month. Well, if you put 100 of those in that leasing team, your days to revenue, I know this is a little bit bigger language, but your days to revenue is a scary time.
That's a major problem. Yeah.
It's a major problem.
You should not be having that problem. But yeah, just to kind of, I guess, reel it back in quickly, just to reiterate what you had said, asset management is critical for the ownership group, because I think I see a lot of newer owner operators getting in the business and really trusting and relying on their property management firm. Not that you shouldn't, but no, you shouldn't. You shouldn't. You should trust but verify, right? You should trust,
Yeah, exactly.
but you should inspect what you expect. You should trust but verify, and you need to have an accountability plan for certain key metrics, KPIs, right? Key performance indicators, we call them. And we certainly have them, but it's the asset manager's role to oversee everything, right? And even though we have construction management in-house in our company, a lot of organizations don't. So there'll be a property management firm, and then they'll hire a general contractor to come in and do the CapEx renovations, or the ownership group will. And then you have, like you said, various vendor relationships, et cetera, relative to the operation of the asset. And really the asset manager's job is to just oversee all of that, and to have that one collection point and that one point of contact with the ownership group that is really managing all of those disparate entities to ensure that you have a positive outcome, that you have a timeline, you have goals, and you have an accountability chart for every single step in those processes. And that's really the key to successful asset management. And when you see a lot of people fall down, it's because they just trusted that their property management company was going to see the world they saw, that they were going to make the decisions they would make, and that it was a foregone conclusion that it's easy to manage a property, and it's not easy. And there's a lot of different decisions that get made, some of which, in my experience, you can make from an ownership perspective, or you can make from a management perspective, from a property manager. And sometimes they can be in contradiction. And so the asset manager's role is to really try to align the cultures within the two organizations, and make sure that the property management team knows what ownership expects and how we want it run.
Right. And I mean, it's team building. I'm a team for the ownership group, and you have a team there with your property management group, and everybody wins when everybody wins and does things together. And, one of the things that I would like to say is, I'm a pilot, and one of the things we like to say, and as a pilot, is flying fat, dumb, and happy. So what that means is everything's going pretty good. Leasing turnover's going great. Invoices are looking good. There's not a high tick in that. Everything's just going perfectly smooth. That's usually when problems happen. Everybody gets laxed. Everything's going on. Nobody's paying attention to. We got 100 move-outs in January, and nobody anticipated that. And when it hits, and it hits hard. So, I think for the asset manager, you have to be also that kind of reminding person to forecast things out. Like, what does this look like? Hey, we've got some really hot temperatures coming up. Is there anything we can do proactively for these invoices? Can we change filters? Can we get some maintenance checks done on these air conditioning units? Can we blow out the coils? Can we wash the coils? That are just being proactive. And I think that the biggest thing that a good asset manager can do is to be proactive, and also just ask the property management company the questions.
Mm-hmm.
Hey guys, what do you see in the next 3 months as far as move-ins and move-out, like lease expirations? Do you see an uptick? And be helpful. Just go in there and say, hey, what is the best leasing season for New Orleans? And what does that look like? Oh, our best leases come at this point. Okay, well, is there any way that we can do more to drive traffic to these renovated units? And it's just, you're working daily with the property management company. And then as far as invoices, you can really dive deep into this stuff. But
yeah,
I think that most importantly is you're just that team person, the kind of that coach or that person that just comes in there and says, hey, what can we think about in the future that would help us make this business model run smoother?
Mm-hmm. That's right.
And that's all we're doing.
Well, that and which maybe we'll save for another deeper dive into another segment here, but really, drilling into those KPIs, right? Drilling into those key performance indicators.
About KPIs.
And drilling into, sort of preventative problems that you can see a trend going a certain way, and you nip it in the bud because you saw that coming, and you started to redirect the team again by asking the right questions, right? one of my favorite sayings is, if you want better answers, ask better questions. And so
Right.
asking the right questions and asking those, what I call second and third order questions, kind of like the Columbo approach. Just one more thing. And you just sort of really need to peel that onion back and ask those deeper and deeper questions so you can get to the root of the matter, and create real, positive solutions. That's what it's all about.
I guarantee you the property management company does not like to report bad news. So when you can mitigate things that are bad news by just working together, they will like you just as much as you like them.
That's right.
Really will.
Yeah.
And you talked about KPIs a couple times, and I want to also bring up something. There's actually tools too that help asset managers win as well. And we use tools like Lobby CRE. We also use Entrata. So you can pull reports from that. You can even get down to daily reports. You can get really granular and really dig into the reporting side of things. You can look at evictions. You can look at where your expenses are running, and you can really build out, like Lobby CRE, for instance. You can really build out a dashboard that really monitor that property.
Yeah.
And you can monitor almost on a weekly or daily basis.
Yeah, you can monitor it on a daily basis with a lot of that. That's right. And it'll automatic, and that's a great tool for ownership. I'm glad you brought that up. That's something that we use and we love. And frankly, we're just going to continue to get better and better and better with it. Right? We have a process for continuous improvement as well. But being able to see that on a daily and weekly basis, again, it's really about not just relying upon a monthly P&L, which is frankly, we could even have a whole other episode about how do you analyze a P&L, how do you look at a balance sheet, how do you put the two together to really see what a picture looks like on a property. But frankly, that's too late. That's too slow moving. Yeah. And you're not seeing the data that you need to see in real time, which means you're not moving the levers quickly enough. And especially if you have a large asset, things can get out of control pretty quickly. And you need to be able to pivot quickly in this business. Yes. And fix problems quickly and catch problems before they become problems. And that's really what the dashboard's about. That's what those KPIs are about. And frankly, it also allows for the accountability component, right? Which is a key thing to any management, is accountability. So we have goals, we have objectives, and we have we have a way to manage and measure those goals so that we can help people achieve them. And that's for our properties and for every single category of management within that property.
Yeah. And another cool thing that with that tool is you can load all of your properties in it. So if you have properties in the same city, you can compare those two back and forth. Mm-hmm. You can get kind of a data of which property is performing better, and you may be able to figure out why.
Yeah. And it also shows us, other property. It doesn't show us which properties, but it shows us similar property averages and sort of benchmarks. Other folks that are on that same platform and using that same interface. And it really is a great tool to be able to, understand OPEX ratios, right? Where should R&M be? Where should all these various line items be? How are we comparing to others in that submarket for that type of asset on a performance basis? And where can we improve? Where are we already killing it? And where can we maybe do a little better?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
powerful.
We've kind of, what else would you say to someone that would be looking to hire an asset manager?
I think, if just to answer that question, frankly, it would really be hire for cultural fit, right? Hire for the fit of your culture of your company. And if you don't know the culture of your company, I would suggest start there. Start to define that. Start to really put that in place, and then hire for that cultural fit. And then just make sure you have somebody who's detail oriented and is really going to proactively go after achieving the objectives of the company in that particular asset or the assets that they're managing.
And then how quickly would you suggest somebody hire an asset manager?
Man, unless you want to do this, pretty full time in terms of your daily scope of work, I would suggest hiring an asset manager once you get to your, second or third property. Yeah. Right. Maybe not your first. Maybe you should be the asset manager on your first property, and frankly, maybe your second. Right. But once you get to 3+, that's when you really need to bring in an asset manager, a professional, somebody who can focus on that 40, 50, 60 hours a week, whatever it is you set up for the person to do. And you really see the results dramatically from there.
100%. I would totally agree with that. And, also capacity, your experience and what you're doing and what you do for the company is a little bit different avenue of managing the asset. Yes, you need to be informed on certain things, but you're also looking at the growth of the company. And you don't have the capacity to actually manage those properties the way they need to be managed because, it's a full-time job, and it's a job that needs to be done and done correctly to properly forecast. And I would tell anyone that's asset managing right now, I'd also tell them to be extremely proactive. Do not react to problems. Be extremely proactive. Understand your KPIs and understand the reports that your property management company is giving you, and understand to see problems quickly. Understand that Texas gets hot during these months, and understand that you probably want to look at some air conditioners before that time.
Yeah.
And, a lot of that comes with due diligence. You cannot catch everything in due diligence. You really cannot. As much as we would love to believe that we can, some things just don't work out.
Yep.
So having that person that is good at asset management and can really look at all the things to be proactive about and work with that property management company, you can truly optimize income and expenses and get more investments back to your investors, and everybody's happy.
Yeah, that's right. That's absolutely right. And you hit the nail on the head, man. The word is proactive. That's an asset manager's job, is be proactive. Find problems before they happen, pull the reports before they're sent to you, understand and see through the data to understand where the real issues lie, and then ask the right questions to be able to pull the levers and redirect the ship in the right direction. That's the essence of it. Now, we're going to dive deeper into a lot of these topics in this asset management series, and we'll save the kind of meat and potatoes because we can go down a wormhole on every single one of these matters.
Oh, yeah.
And record a 30, 40, 50-minute video on each one of these because it really is that detailed and that in depth. But we'll save that for a future series. Anything else you want to add about asset management overview before we wrap up this episode, Eddie?
I think that we definitely have to deep dive on rent rolls and P&L statements and stuff like that. So, be sure to like and subscribe to channels. It helps us grow. Please share it with other people in the space. Mm-hmm. And, make sure that you smash the little reminder bell and stay up to date. We launch, every single week we launch a podcast, and we're here to truly help people win in this space. We take the things that we know we've learned lessons on, and we teach them to you guys and hope that you can win as well. And we're going to do some deep diving on this particular subject for sure. You can do a full podcast on a rent roll because a rent roll can get really deep.
Yeah.
And understanding what a rent roll looks like.
And how to analyze one and what is it, when you see this, what does that mean? And oh, you're right. We can go deep on a rent roll. We need to pull Nick in for that one. We'll bring Nick back in for that.
Yep, 100%. All right, Shane, another great podcast episode. Crowd, again, if there's anything you want more information on, if there's something that we've said that really ticked you and said, you know what, I really want to know more about that subject, please, by all means, email us, jump on a call, leave a comment on the podcast here on YouTube, and get in touch. We're happy to evaluate that and maybe do a question and answer.
That's right. Absolutely. All right. Well, thanks everybody. We'll see you on the next one.